Good afternoon. Welcome to this webinar, the weekend alumni webinar sessions. My name is Hande, Hande Baltacı. I'm the director of the Global Talent Management Center at Istanbul BİLGİ University. Today we are delighted to have two esteemed guests, Michiel Paus, co-founder of EduNet, and University of West of England Bristol's official representative in Turkey, and Sophie Turnbull, who is the head of international office at the University of the West of England Bristol, UWE Bristol. We have recently, as BİLGİ, signed a memorandum of understanding with UWE Bristol in the UK. And right after this official signing, we have established a partnership, especially concerning benefit of our alumni. And today we are here recording this webinar in order to explain in more detail about what the partnership is about. Sophie and Michiel will try to answer the questions that have been raised via email or in person to our office regarding this partnership. So without further delay, I want to first give my colleagues a chance to introduce themselves, and then we have a short presentation by Sophie, and we will go over some questions after the presentation. For being here, Michiel, the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Michiel Paus. I am co-founder of EduNet. We provide consultancy for students, mainly for students who want to study in the Netherlands, but we also have connections with some very good connections with British universities. UWE Bristol is one of them, and we are proud to be the representative of UWE Bristol in Turkey. I had the chance to visit the university in Bristol last year, and I must say I was very impressed by the facilities the university offers, the staff, very friendly people, all of them. Bristol is a beautiful city, and it's actually very close to London, so I would definitely recommend students to check out this university. I'm especially excited to be part of this project because I've worked myself for 18 years at Istanbul BİLGİ University, from its foundation to the end of 2012. I mainly worked as academic registrar, and although I left at the end of 2012, I must say that I still feel as if I worked there yesterday. Also, every time I visit BİLGİ, I immediately feel at home. It's really a kind of family for me. So I'm very proud to be part of this project. If there are alumni or students who are in the last year of their bachelor or master degree who are intending to apply to the University of West of England, we can assist them in the application procedure. We would be happy to guide them through free of charge. Students can also ask questions anytime they want. You can contact us through EduNet's website. There's a contact form. Through that contact form, you can contact us. We will immediately get back to you the same day. These contact details are on the last slide of Sophie's presentation. You can also always, I think, contact the international office at BİLGİ. They can also give you our information. Well, thank you for participating in this webinar. I'll now leave the floor to Sophie for the presentation. Thank you very much for attending.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really pleased to be here with you today, and just to be able to give you a little bit of information about studying at the university. So, like Hande and Michiel said, I visited BİLGİ, I think maybe last October, where we began to have discussions about opportunities for alumni to who are perhaps interested in studying at the UK to be able to come to UWE and benefit from the master's courses that we offer. You know, I was really impressed with the campus, that it had such a student-centric feel. You could really tell it was a university for the students, and I really saw synergy there between the type of university that UWE is, and really wanted to look at how we could extend opportunities to students coming over. So really excited to be able to kind of share the opportunities that we have and give you a little bit of information about studying in the UK as well. So if we could bring up the presentation, I can't see it on my screen at the moment. Let me see. Is there, apologies, is there something I need to do to bring up the presentation, or is somebody going to bring that up for me?
Okay, just one moment as my colleagues bring the presentation up.
Fantastic, thank you. Fantastic, here we go. So like I said, really, you know, what I want to do today is two things, well, three things really. One, introduce UWE and the university and the options we have for you for postgraduate or maybe even PhD study. Two is give you a little bit of information about the UK. So, you know, those of you listening today may already be very familiar with the benefits of studying in the UK, or perhaps a few of you are thinking, well, why the UK? There's some great study destinations. I could stay here in Turkey. There's the US, Canada, Australia, lots of different options. So why is the UK a special destination? And then it's an opportunity, if there are any questions that you may have about the opportunities, either at UWE or in the UK more widely, for me to be able to address those with you. So I'm going to start with the UK first, because let's talk more generally about why the UK is such a popular destination. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going on this, because I would think that you're probably with us here today because you're already considering overseas education, so you may have your own reasons for doing that. But I think it's always important when looking at a destination to consider, why is that destination a good one? It's a large investment that you'll be making, and it's an important investment into your future. So really having that full information really does help you make an informed decision. So why the UK? Well, we know that the UK is a hub of quality education. We have 4 of the top 9 globally ranked universities located in the UK. It has an outstanding international reputation. The University of Oxford, which was founded in 1167, is the first English-speaking university in the world. So we know we have that huge historical reputation, universities like Oxford and Cambridge that are world-renowned. But the great thing about you when you're looking at a UK university is that all UK universities are governed by the same body. So even if you're the #1 ranked university or the last ranked university, the quality assurance that we have to meet to have a university status will all be the same. So you can be really confident when you're looking at any university in the UK that there's a lot of academic rigour that is in place to ensure that they have that university status. So you really will, regardless of which university you're looking at, benefit from that quality and that international reputation, which will help you either back in Turkey, remaining in the UK, or indeed any global job markets. And what we often say actually is that on top of that degree certificate, which is the main thing that, you know, is the emphasis for a lot of students, is that you really do gain that international perspective. You know, so we know that for students who come over and study with us, either at UWE or other UK universities, it's not just that piece of paper that gets them that job or that is part of that experience. It's part of being in a multicultural society. It's continuing to improve your English language. It's making and actually networks and connections from all over the world who may one day become a business connection for you. What we often see with a lot of our students, especially those on programs such as MBA, is that actually they keep in place those friendships, and often those friendships will become part of their future business plans. So it really is giving you those global opportunities. And what we really put a lot of emphasis on in the UK and indeed at UWE is real experiences with real salaries. So a lot of universities will have opportunities for students to do internships, placements, you know, some of those are paid, not just for extra money, but actually we know that there is a lot of research out there that really talks about the employability of students who have actually had some real life experience. And at UWE, that's the whole ethos of the university is very much about ensuring that our students and future graduates really do benefit from practical teaching, not just the academic teaching as well. Further as well, you know, the UK does have shorter durations of study than some other markets as well. So our master's programs, for example, are 1 year in comparison to other years, other countries where master's degree are perhaps 2 years in time. So for most students coming to the UK for master's studies, within 1 year you will have completed your studies, which means you're ready to go into the marketplace. We're able to do that because the curriculum is very focused, and because we connect into that real life work experience opportunities, or that real practical experience, we find that our graduates are very strong after that 1 year of study. Your visa coming to the UK does allow you to work during your studies as well. So for those of you who were, you know, who have got concerns about, you know, can I work whilst I'm studying? Can I make a little bit of extra money? Can I get some work experience whilst I'm in the UK? Yes, your visa does allow that. So your visa allows you to work 20 hours per week during your studies, and then during any vacation period, you can work full time. And those of you who are looking at applying to come to the UK from this September onwards will graduate and be able to benefit from the new 2-year graduate route that the government have announced. So this is something that was announced last year. It was very welcome for the UK because we know that we get fantastic students from all over the world who come and study with us, and it can be a little tricky for them to get a job right after graduation. So this new scheme that will be introduced for students who graduate from 2021 will mean that you're eligible to apply for a visa which allows you to stay in the UK for 2 years to look for work. There is no stipulation there in terms of the salary or the type of work that you do. So it really gives you that kind of extra opportunity of remaining in the UK and getting more work experience, seeing that return on investment, and getting and capitalising even more on that global experience that you've already started out in your journey. So, you know, you've got those part-time work opportunities while studying, and now going forward from next year, students will be able to also stay in the UK for 2 years and get work experience as well, which is a very, very welcomed and has been very popular with our Turkish applicants. So we've seen quite an increase in our postgraduate applications this year because we know that a lot of our really fantastic Turkish students coming to study with us really do want that opportunity to look at applying for work in the UK after graduation. For masters, and I'll touch on scholarships a little bit later, but the UK, especially for masters, does have great opportunities for scholarships. So a lot of universities will have anything between 50% to 100% scholarships available, and indeed we have a specific one exactly for you. And so again, if you're looking at kind of the cost of study, that 1 year duration, scholarships, even though it's not a low cost options for students, it really is a great investment for students when you begin to look at that complete package. And there is a little bit of a perception out there that the UK is a very expensive study destination, but actually we know that in comparison to the US, Australia, even some of the Asian countries such as Singapore and Hong Kong, the UK, because of the length of our degrees, living costs and our tuition fees, is often a lower cost option than some of those other destinations. So you're getting, you know, that great global quality experience. You're getting those opportunities to work part-time while studying and stay back afterwards, and all in a lot of cases for a lower cost than you will be looking at some of the other popular overseas study destinations. So hopefully that just gives you a bit of an idea of why the UK generally can be a great study opportunity for you. And then if we begin to look at why UWE overall, and what I'm not going to do today is give you a big long list of all our different rankings or go through all of our programs. You know, you will all have access to visit our website, and you can see the kind of degrees that we offer. Today is just to give you a little bit of a feeling of what is UWE about. So UWE is a large university. We have over 30,000 students studying at the university. Around 17% of that is international. So what you'll see when you come to UWE is there are going to be lots of international students there, which is great because you know we're a university which is well prepared to welcome students from all over the world. Bristol is a very diverse and multicultural city, so you're coming to a city where you're going to feel really comfortable. I've been to Istanbul many times, and it's such an amazing, vibrant, multicultural city. And when you're coming over, you want a city where you feel, okay, it's a different city because why, you know, stay in Istanbul if you want Istanbul, but that still you feel that you're not losing out on that multicultural life, that student life, and the vibrancy of being in an amazing city. And our international community in Bristol really does help form part of that. But equally, what you're not going to find is there only is international students, because again, why pay that money and invest that time on coming over and not having that benefit of making friends from all over the world, but indeed British students as well, because that's really part of that student experience that I was talking about before. And Bristol, like I say, is often voted one of the top cities in the UK, and both for visiting, living, salaries in some cases. So again, we're talking about a city where you're not going to feel that you're trading in from being in coming from a fantastic city such as Istanbul, but you're really going to feel that you benefit from being in Bristol. And it's often some of the things that a lot of our Turkish applicants say to me is one of their favourite things when they think about their time at UWE, obviously apart from the amazing education, but it's the city of Bristol itself. And when you're spending at least a year there, or maybe even longer with that post-work visa, you want to know that you're in a city that you're going to really enjoy as part of that experience. And I said I'm not going to talk about rankings, you know, because rankings change, and it should be an important part of your decision making, but it shouldn't be the only part. So I think, you know, UWE's not ashamed of its rankings. You know, it's still important to say, you know, where top 6 in the UK for postgraduate taught student experience, 28th in the UK overall in the Guardian. You know, 94% of our students are in further study or employment within 6 months of graduation. So we know that ranking wise we're very strong, and that number 6 for postgraduate taught experience to me is one of the most important, because that is from the students themselves. That isn't based on you know, the number of academics we have or our research outputs as a university, and this is based on the students themselves. So number 6 in the UK out of almost 130 UK universities really does show you that that's the voice of the student. And if I was looking at something, you know, certainly if I'm looking at booking a holiday or buying something, quite often I want to search now what the consumer is saying about it, not just what you know, a league table says that doesn't actually translate to the voice of me. So I think that's really important, not just for UWE. You know, there are a lot of great universities in the UK, but it's important not just to look at the rankings, but to look at the different kind of rankings that are available to students. So that's just to give you a little bit of a taste of the university. We are a large university, so I'm not going to go through all of our course offerings. We will be here a long time, and like I said, you can access that information on our website. But we do have 4 main faculties. So we have our Faculty of Arts, Creative Industry and Education, Environment and Technology, which is our faculty where things like engineering, architecture, computing is studied. We have our Faculty of Business and Law, and we have our Faculty of Health and Applied Sciences. We don't have medicine, veterinary or dentistry or pharmaceutical at UWE. So those are the kind of health programs that we don't have, but we do have things such as psychology, you know, medical science. So those are the kind of programs I expect to see in that faculty. I'll show you, I have got a list of our postgraduate courses in a couple of slides time, just to give you a sense of some of them, and so you can have a quick scroll through and see if you spot the kind of program that you're interested in. Now you will note that I haven't talked about coronavirus. I haven't said anything about that yet, and it's a really tricky one, because obviously I do have to acknowledge that there will be some slight changes to the university for this year, and actually some of those changes are probably very likely to stay in place, not because necessarily the pandemic will be around forever, nobody knows that, but because actually what we've seen from of the things that we've had to put in place already, or indeed some of the things that we will put in place for the new academic year, these are things that actually we can see our current and new students will really, really benefit from. So I can, throughout the presentation, I will refer a little bit to some of the things that we've put in place because of the current situation, but actually what we've seen from a lot of our applicants, they're incredibly tenacious. And yes, they want to know, how will my study be impacted this year? Will I get that experience? But actually, a lot of our applicants are looking forward. They still want to go ahead with their plans for a master's. They still want to go ahead and move on with their career. They don't want to put their life on hold because of what's going on at the moment, but they want to be informed. So today, I will be telling you about the next academic year. And like I said, that will be slightly impacted. It will be a slightly different type of year than we've seen previously. Because you haven't necessarily already applied, so you don't necessarily know what it would have been like before, I won't confuse you too much by switching between the two, but I will be obviously talking a little bit more about online or digital enhancement than perhaps I would have done previously. So to touch upon what that means for our academic year for 2020 and 2021. So we will have 2 intakes for our master's degrees that will run this year. We will have a September start and we will have a January start. To give you, without going into a lot of detail, most of our postgraduate courses have now been moved to start in January. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, for a lot of our international applicants especially, there's still concern about travel, quarantine, all of those things that are going on, that we feel even actually by September, a lot of that will have been changed or will have been clarified, so probably won't be a concern. But actually, when students are making a decision about starting in September, they don't make that decision in September. They make it, in some cases, a year, 6 months, 2 months before. So we have to try and think, well, what will our students feel comfortable with? And we felt from speaking to a lot of our applicants that that slightly later start in January would be something that they felt a lot more comfortable with, because it's moving a little bit further away from where we are currently. But there are still a number of courses that will run in September, and how it will work is that the first 4 weeks of teaching will commence in September, but they will be what we call a block 0. So this will be an online preparation course. It will be a mixture of academic preparation, but also study skill and digital preparation. So for this part of it, students do not come to the UK. This is done from home, all online, and I'll tell you a little bit about what that block 0 means later. After that, from the 18th of October, 19th of October, students will actually commence their face-to-face study. So this will be at the point where students will begin to come to the UK. This will be, like I said, face-to-face, but with some components being online. And that component mainly is where we would normally have had a large lecture theatre, perhaps on some courses with 100 students. And now where we have to try and maintain social distancing, those lectures will be recorded, but around that there will be a lot of face-to-face work to complement those recorded lectures. And actually, when we've begun to look at what that means in terms of recorded lecture, we can see some real advantages for our students. It means that if you miss something or you didn't quite get it from the lecture, you can go back. It means that the quality of those recorded lectures will be very, very high, because we're not just looking at doing it for 1 or 2 courses, it will be across our whole curriculum. It means that you can work in a very different way and in your own way. When I was a student, for example, I was a bit of a night owl and I didn't do too well, especially with a morning lecture. You could say I was a bit lazy, but I'd like to say that my brain was just more alive on the evening. So for me, where I had early morning lectures, if I managed to make them, I didn't take it in very well. My brain took a little while to warm up. So for me, if I was able to access those lectures afterwards, or indeed access them whenever I wanted, I know that learning and understanding there would have been a lot better, because it's what worked for me. So you have now that real flexibility to study in a way that works for you, but completely cushioned around face-to-face interactions still, especially on courses where there is a strong practical element. So if you're doing an engineering course or an art course, that's not going to work with just online lectures. So there will still be a lot of face-to-face interaction, but just with those large lectures, which normally have a larger number of students, will be online. That will move then on into teaching block 2, and then that will end in May, and then from May to August you have your kind of end of year kind of final exams, and then you would move on to your dissertation block. So for almost all of our September and January courses, these will run on a 1-year teaching block, with the kind of first 6 to 8 months being face-to-face teaching, and then the next semester or final semester being your final big project, so dissertation, consultation, whatever that may be for your course, which would be very normal for a master's on a normal year anyway. What we've done for our September, because we know that some students may struggle to join us, is we have a latest start date. You can't quite see it there, it's kind of fallen off the slide, but there is a latest start date of the 9th of November. So actually you can see there's quite a lot of flexibility. So even if there is a course that you like the look of that starts in September, there is still time for, you know, a really nice arrival period for students to be able to look at. If we then look at how that translates to January, it's very similar. Again, we have that block 0, that 3-week online preparationary course. Students will be able to start to arrive at this period, and then that kind of face-to-face teaching will start on the 8th of February. And again, you will then move on to teaching block 2, and the rest of the course will run all the way to December, which would be when you're submitting your dissertation or your final project. I know this is quite a lot of information to take in, so this is why it's great that you'll have this slide to look at afterwards and again, which is why that the concept of moving some of these lectures to online is great, because if, like me, somebody talking at you for 40 minutes can send your brain a little bit scrambled, being able to access that information, go back through it in your own time and digest it as works best for you is such a great way to learn. And then if we move on to block 0, so I'm only going to touch on this very, very quickly, because you're not current applicants with us. You may not even be looking for study for a year or two, although this is something that we will keep in place going forward. But this is really about preparing students to study. And like I said, this will touch on both the academic side of study preparation, but also some of the things that we know that students need to look on. So it might be some of the cultural aspects of studying in the UK. It might be how to use our Blackboard systems or our technical systems to really help prepare you. So it is a 3-week or 4-week block of activity that will be timetabled. Again, it will also be available online. So if because of either time differences, which shouldn't be too bad for Turkey, or because of work commitments or things like that, you can join the live sessions. You will be able to access all of that afterwards. And you can see there that we're modelling it on something called 5 secrets to success. And this includes things like discovering your student self, how to engage with your course, how to grow your confidence in preparation to study, how you visualize your future, and how you connect with others. And actually, you know, looking at that list, those are great things to look at regardless of your course, especially at the moment, you know, how to visualize your future when we don't even know what's happening in the coming months, how to connect with others when our social interaction has been changed so dramatically over the last 3 months, beyond something that we've probably never experienced before, is so key to helping us be successful going forward. So this is a program that really is going to be so beneficial for you. It's not an assessed program. It will be compulsory as part of your course, but this is really just to prepare you. And for any of you who perhaps have had a break in study, this will be something that really does help give you a really nice reintroduction into studying. This is, apologies, this is very small, so this information is obviously all available on our website, and we do have a course now, a course page which is all of our courses that are now commencing in January, which you can see is quite a large number actually. So most of our postgraduates, there is a number of courses still running in September, but most of it now will run in January. You can just, I won't go through all of the courses, but obviously you can have a look there yourself, but also do visit our website. Like I said, we do have a number of courses still running in September, so things like our MBA, LLM, International Management, Human Resource Management, but we also then do have duplicate course start dates for them. So for MBA, MSc International Management, and our LLMs, our legal masters, you can join in either the September if you're really keen to get going soon, but there is that January intake as well. And then, you know, it's really hard when I've got an audience where there may be students who have a lot of different subject areas. So like I said, I'm not going to go through all of the different courses. If there are questions about this, you know, I'd be happy to answer them at the end, or you can get in touch with Michiel at EduNet, or you can speak to the international office at BİLGİ and visit our website for more information. But I just want to give you a little bit more of a flavour of why UWE, because there are so many universities, and I'm sure very much the same as when you were looking at choosing a university in Turkey and you were looking at BİLGİ as your option. It can be quite overwhelming, especially when you're looking at another country. And so I think there are things such as, you know, looking at the course and what modules are studied and what the outcomes of that course is very important. Looking at the rankings still to benchmark what's important to you is important, but it's also really important to get a feel of, is the university right for you? Is it the type of university or the type of city that I would want to study at and I'd want to invest a year of time and money into? So for me, there's three things that when I think of UWE and when I think of Bristol, that I think are really important to communicate to potential applicants, to give them a taste of what UWE is about. And the first one of them is Bristol. Now, you could call me a little bit biased because I live in Bristol. I'm not from Bristol originally, and I've chosen to move here and to live here for almost 10 years now, and I've been quite lucky. I've lived in Toronto, I've lived in Sydney, I've lived in London, I've lived in Newcastle. I'm a bit of a city girl, so you can tell I've lived in quite a few different countries and cities, and to me there is still something really special about Bristol. It's not as big as Toronto or London or Sydney, but it's still a really vibrant and dynamic city. So for me, one of the things that often if a student says to me, why UWE, I do think the city that you're living in is really an important part of that. And maybe that's because I am a city girl, but I do think if you're going to spend a year, you know, really connecting with the city you're going to is really important. And like I said before, I've been to Istanbul many times. It must be one of my favourite, and Michiel will say, it must be one of my favourite cities to visit. And I certainly don't think, I mean, Bristol is a much smaller city, but I definitely don't feel that you're going to move to Bristol and find that it is a boring option for you. Like I said, quite often voted one of the best cities in the world. And what's really important is we have a really high proportion of our students who remain in Bristol after graduation. And then the reason that's important is two reasons. One, students love it. So they move here. It's a really young, vibrant city, lots of things to do, great nightlife, restaurants, cities, shopping, really good connectivity to the countryside, only an hour and 20 minutes to London, so really good connectivity to other big cities in the UK, but actually it has a really nice feel to it. So students stay here because they fall in love with it, but probably more important is that it has a really good economy. So it's not a city where you go and have a great student experience, then have to move away to look for a job. A lot of students will choose to stay back because those great job opportunities are there itself. And if we look at kind of, you know, the kind of wider picture of what Bristol is, so you know, the population is about 500,000, so much smaller than Istanbul, but still in no way a small city, very multicultural. So you know, we have citizens from all over the world speaking lots of different languages. So again, you're not going to come somewhere that you feel that people look at you because you are different or you're speaking a different language. It's a really multicultural city anyway. Bristol Airport flies to over 125 destinations. So again, it's a tourist destination, it's a well-connected city. And like I said before, one of the reasons that a lot of students choose to stay back is that it does have a really strong economy. So we have a huge amount of jobs in the creative and digital sector. It has the third largest GDP per capita in the UK. It has a really large student population, so around 50,000 students across the two universities, so really vibrant young student population. And it's also really strong in aerospace, engineering, accountancy, media. So all of those areas really offer students those opportunities. And I mentioned before about that post-study work visa. So for students who are looking at opportunities, you know, if you fall in love with Bristol, just like I do, and 50% of our students, you don't necessarily have to move to London or to Manchester. There will be job opportunities there for you to apply for. So that's kind of the first reason that I often think that, you know, students should consider UWE. And the second is campus and community. And again, to me, this is really important. Like I said, I've visited the BİLGİ campus, and to me, it's amazing. Walking around a beautiful campus, really can feel the kind of how important the students are to that experience. And to me, that's such an important thing. You know, when you come onto the UWE campus ordinarily, when we're not all on lockdown, you can really feel the kind of what an important part of that university experience the students are. And often you get that from a campus university. So at the university, we have three main campuses. We have French campus, which is kind of up there at the top, and that's where business, law, engineering and our science students study. We have our arts and design city campus, which is there across the bottom of the screen, and then we have our health care students at our Glenside campus. The great thing about this is the size of Bristol means that actually you can live in the centre of Bristol and still be on the main campus in 15 minutes. You can live at Glenside and still get to the main campus in 15 minutes on the bus. You know, so you've got that really good connectivity, but you've still got being part of a big city, but also a campus university, which to me is the best of both worlds. Like I keep saying, I'm a city girl. If I'm going to go to university again, I want to be in a city because that's where I thrive. But also I want to feel that I'm part of a community and I'm part of a campus, and especially if I was going overseas. You know, if I was going to go and move to Istanbul, I would want to be part of that vibrant city, but I would want to feel that when I was at university that I was part of that university itself, and I wasn't just going into a building, having my lectures, going to the library and leaving, and that I could be anywhere. So I think that campus environment is really important. You can see here, this is an aerial view of our French campus. You can see here that we have quite a lot of accommodation on campus. So we have about 3,000 student halls of residence rooms. We have our main library, which is open 24 hours. We have sports facilities, restaurants, cafes, and all of this, like I said, is only 15 minutes into the centre of Bristol. So you can live on campus and you can still get into the centre for either for work or for social life or for shopping, or alternatively, you can live in the centre and still be in campus and not it be taking you hours. So you've got that kind of real benefit, I think, of that city and that campus life as well. And if we form the kind of the teaching style at UWE, which again is really important, what we kind of class UWE as is practice orientated. So we are a university, we are an academic, we are a theoretical university, as all universities are, but where our students really thrive is where they learn by doing. So again, to use myself as an example, when I was at university, or even now, I learn best by doing. I could read something for hours and hours, and I would take in a little bit of it, but once I start doing it, that's when my brain clicks and says, okay, yes, I get this. And we know that a large number of our students studying at UWE are very similar to me, and that actually going into the workplace, those are the skills that employers really do value, because that's how you work. You don't work by reading or listening to lectures for hours or listening to your boss. He doesn't want to have to talk you through everything line by line. He wants you to understand what he's communicating to you, he or she, and then go and do that. So that's the kind of approach to teaching and learning that we have at UWE. And being part of that huge campus means that you've got all of that kind of benefit of the amazing facilities. You can see there that we've invested a lot of money in campus. We continue to do so. So we'll have a new engineering building opening this year. So, you know, that combination of the campus, the learning style, the teaching style, and really does help us produce kind of graduate ready students so that they're kind of ready to go into the workplace and get a job, which obviously is really important. And then that leads us on to employability. So again, if we're looking at kind of, you know, what's the main reason that a lot of students will go to university, it is for their career. And that's something that we're really proud of at UWE. So we know 95% of our graduates go on to further study or employment within 6 months. I don't like universities using this statistic too much though overseas. Now I will tell you why. This statistic generally is for our UK students. So we have to, for our UK students, try and collect as much data as possible to send to the government to let them know about what our graduates are doing. Now, it's still amazing. 95% is something that shows we're producing good graduates. But what does that mean to you in Istanbul, where you're not staying in the UK, you're not a British student? But the reason that I still use this statistic is, one, like I said, it still really shows the quality and the employability that we have at UWE. But two, I really believe that we're going above and beyond to help our international graduates. And we have a huge careers office at the university who will support you. We have a lot of initiatives to help specifically our international students only. So things like our International Talent Internship Scheme, which is a paid internship, especially for international students with companies who really do value the skill set that you bring. We have huge links with industry. We have huge amounts of students who will go on placement every year. But we also have something called Grad Links. So Grad Link is a UWE initiative. It's now got its own, you will see, it's got its own URL, but the reason that this is so important to us is this, we can almost call it like a global portal. So after graduation, you can take advantage of that post-study work route now in the UK, but perhaps you want to say, well, actually, I've done construction project management. Which kind of countries would I have the best opportunity to progress or the best salary? So GradLink is a global job portal which will help you look at a number of different job markets. And what it looks at is not just the jobs there, but companies who really value a UK graduate. So when we build a new GradLink site, so we've just launched GradLink Eastern Europe, and the next one will be GradLink US, we actually target companies who we know have a record of hiring UK graduates or really do understand. So not only does this give you a global job portal, but it gives you access to companies who are already proactively looking at an international student who studied in the UK. And the reason that we're really proud of this is it shows the commitment that UWE has to your career, that we're not just saying, well, great, 95% of our British students have got work experience, so let's leave it there, let's tell everyone that statistic and they'll be happy. We've really committed to our international applicants, and this is this resource here, GradLink, is for all students studying in the UK. So actually you may choose not to come to study at UWE, you may study at a different university, but you can still use this, and it's actually featured on over 100 UK universities' website, including universities such as Oxford, Manchester, because we've invested so much in this now that they wouldn't be able to produce a resource like this. So you can just see again the importance that UWE puts on kind of our graduates, really. And you can see there some of the companies that we have those links with. And so really, if we're talking about why UWE or special about UWE, I think Bristol is a fantastic city, not just because it's a great place to live, but it really does have great job opportunities as well. You've got the campus, the community, the type of teaching, the type of learning, and then we have that emphasis in employability. So when you're looking at kind of your student journey and choosing a university, those things are all so important, So hopefully that's given you a bit of a taste of why UWE. And then these are the things, I'm going to go through these quite quickly because I'm conscious of time, but these are some of the things, just to be aware of. So if you were wanting to apply for our September or January intake, our applications are still open even for the September, so you can still put those in now. You will have Michiel speak at the beginning. He's our official representative here in Istanbul, so they can help you with your application, with your visa application as well. So there's still opportunities to apply if you're interested in study this year. Once your application is in, students, if you're joining in September, would normally look at paying a £3,000 deposit, which is to secure your place. It's deductible off the main tuition fee, around about June, July time. We have some 50% scholarships as well, both for the September and the January intake, which I'll talk to you a little bit more about in a slide or two. And then you've just got the overview there of our start dates in autumn and also our start dates in January. So just a little bit of a reminder of what would happen, so really you are still able to apply at this point, and we have had a couple of applications actually from BİLGİ graduates already, which is fantastic news. And then if we look at some of the other things, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here because really you're only at the point of doing research now, so there's no point in me going into a lot of detail about accommodation. But like I mentioned before, we do have accommodation available both on campus and off campus. You would apply directly with the university if you were interested in that. There will be accommodation available both for the September still and for our January intake. But a lot of our students also choose to look at private accommodation. In some cases, it's a bit more budget friendly, depending on where you tend to live. Because Bristol's a large student city, there's a lot of private accommodation out there. There are some things that you would have to take into consideration. So the cost of UWE's halls of residence includes most bills. The rent that you would see on private accommodation would exempt a lot of those bills. There's a lot of information on our website about that. And indeed, if you did apply, we run a lot of webinars about things such as UWE accommodation, private accommodation. We offer a lot of support to help you understand if you're moving into private accommodation, what your rights are and things like that. But that's just to kind of reassure you that we do have that accommodation there. Looking at entry requirements, so our general entry requirement for our master's programmes are a GPA of 2.5 out of 4. If students have a little bit less of that, but they have work experience, we can still consider you. If your GPA is 2 or below, we do have a relationship with Kaplan where you can do a 6-month pre-masters before studying. But I always think it's worth contacting us directly with your transcript and your work experience beforehand so we can see if we can consider you anyway. And we have had some queries from students about whether or not if they've already got a master's, are they allowed to apply? Yes, you are. The only thing we would often look at is if you already had a business master's and you were looking at doing a very similar program with UWE, what's the reason for that? And there's 2 reasons we check that. One, we don't want to take money off you if we don't think that we can give value added education to you. But 2, as part of your visa application, that may also be looked at as well. So the Home Office may just want to understand why, if you've already got a master's, are you doing another one? So we ask for that to be acknowledged in a personal statement. If it's that you're switching, so if you did a master's already in public health, or engineering, and you now have had a couple of years out and you want to do an MBA because you really want to kind of increase your business skills, that would be completely fine. So we tend to look at it on a case-by-case basis. If we look at our English language requirements, so most of our postgraduate courses require an Ielts of 6.5 or equivalent. If you don't have an Ielts, UWE does have its own English language test. It's online, so you don't need to travel to the UK, we don't need to travel to Turkey, and we run that every Wednesday. So between now and the January, we will continue to run those tests free of charge, so that you can use that both to meet those English requirements, but also as part of your visa application, which is a really fantastic opportunity for you because a lot of Ielts centres have closed. But even when they reopen, you know, why would you go and pay and have all that stress of sitting a test when you can do it from the comfort of your own home free of charge? It follows the Ielts testing very similar, so the scoring is the same. It does all of the 4 elements, listening, reading, writing and speaking, but it's just a UWE test. The only thing to know is that wouldn't be available to be used at other universities, so that is a test specifically for UWE. And then in terms of tuition fees and funding, so our postgraduate fees range between £13,250 to £15,750 for our MBA. That is tuition fee only, so accommodation will be additional depending on the type of accommodation you choose. You are able to pay in instalments, so I mentioned before the £3,000 deposit that we need from you before joining, and then after that you can pay the remaining tuition fee in 2 instalments after joining. Just to, you know, I mentioned that every now and again I would be dropping in information about coronavirus. So just to offer a little bit of reassurance is that if you apply for this September or January and then aren't able to join due to the pandemic, we will offer a full refund on any tuition fee that you pay. So as long as you let us know before you're due to start, you will get that fully refunded, because we recognise that between now and September or even January, a lot can change. So we want students to really be confident in going ahead with applications to study, going ahead with applications to for accommodation, looking at preparation for their visa application, but not feeling that they're going to miss out on getting that money back if they're unable to join. And then if we talk about scholarships, so the great thing that we've been able to do by going into partnership with BİLGİ is giving you an automatic £2,000 scholarship off that tuition fee that you see above. That will be applied to all applicants on all programmes. You don't need to fill in a form or apply, it should be automatically applied. However, if you do put in an application, it doesn't seem to be, you can let EduNet or myself know, and we'll make sure that that's put on your record. You can also apply for additional scholarships, so we have that 50% scholarship there. You only get one scholarship though, so say for example you applied for the 50%, because that's the largest scholarship, that would be the only scholarship you would get. So the £2,000 would be removed, but obviously a 50% scholarship is a great scholarship to have. So like I said, our deadline for September will be closing soon, but if you're applying for a January course, which most of our courses now are, there will also be scholarships for that. We also can look at extending the £2,000 by a little bit, so there is opportunities to, you know, if you're not eligible for that 50%, there are other opportunities, and we would look at that by case, predominantly based on your academic merits, so the GPA that you got in your undergraduate, but we do look at other things as well. So we will look at, you know, it could be that you're very strong in sports, it could be that you're amazing at social media or marketing, and that when you come and study at UWE, we would love to work with you to help support some of our marketing. So there are opportunities to slightly increase that 2,000, but that would probably be a maximum of £1,000 on top of that. So really a maximum of £3,000 or the 50% scholarship are the best things to look at. And then I'm going to kind of finish here. This is just a little kind of slide at the end. I know that Istanbul and as is the UK actually, is beginning to release out of lockdown quite a lot now, and hopefully it will stay that way, because it's been a long time where I've been working from home like this. But if, like myself, you've watched everything on Netflix and you're still looking at different ways to explore, these are just a couple of things that you can look at. So Visit Bristol has done a fantastic job at shifting a lot of their kind of Bristol things to online, and it's actually been voted as one of the best virtual tourism campaigns around the world. So, you know, I've talked a lot about how great Bristol is, so now you can go and actually investigate that yourself, and then hopefully if you do decide to join UWE, you can actually see those things virtually, and then once you move to Bristol, go and see those things for themselves. I talked a little bit about the secrets to success that we'll be doing as part of that Block Zero. There's already some modules online available, which again look at things like visualizing your future, connecting with others. So if you're looking at kind of trying to start engaging a little bit with some of those things now, you're more than welcome to do that. UWE does run a number of webinars, so if you are interested, or if you do go ahead and apply, especially for this upcoming cycle, we're running a lot of webinars now about things such as accommodation, visas, and even program webinars. So if you are really keen on making an application, there's a lot more information you'll be able to receive directly from the university. And then I've just put some links in there of resources which are really useful for you to use. So things like our own FAQs around COVID-19, so that you can keep up to date with what the university is doing. But there's also a couple of resources of links I've put in there which are more general to the UK in terms of the UK's response, the UK's university response. So it will keep you up to date on things like quarantine, any travel restrictions and things like that. And then I'm going to end here. So you'll see here both my email address and also the university's website. So if you've got any questions, like I said before, you're more than welcome to email me or to contact the international unit at BİLGİ. But there is also here EduNet's contact details. So like I said at the beginning, there are official representative in Istanbul, and they're able to help you. There is no fee for your application with them, and they're also able to help you with your visa application as well. And you can see their website there, or you can email them at study@edunet.eu. So I know that's a lot of information there. I've talked to you for quite a while. I hope you found that a little bit useful. It's just given you a little bit of a taste of what study both in the UK but also UWE could be about. So thank you ever so much for your time.
Sophie, this was great. Thank you so much for the fantastic presentation. Really, it was very comprehensive, in-depth, gave the overview of study in the UK, gave an overview of Bristol as a city and UWE as a university. So I think this was a great introduction. Thank you so much. I just want to highlight a couple of things. I had a whole list of questions, which I'm not going to ask because you already answered them very, very nicely. But those were the questions that we gathered from our students and alumni. As soon as we basically announced our partnership with UWE Bristol, we did receive a lot of questions and inquiries from our students and alumni. And most of the questions were very down-to-earth factual questions, like the admission criteria, the cost information, the operations and the logistics of actually getting there. So, and in that respect, we are very lucky with this collaboration because it's a triangular collaboration. In fact, yes, UWE Bristol and BİLGİ University signed an MOU and then settled on this partnership scholarship for all master's programs at UWE Bristol, which is excellent because that means this collaboration is open to all graduates of BİLGİ, a family of about 45,000 people. So it's a very meaningful collaboration. But on the third side, we also have Edunet and Michiel, who is basically part of BİLGİ family because he has been at the foundation of BİLGİ and he has followed up BİLGİ very closely for more than a decade. We are very lucky to have Michiel being the official representative of UWE in Istanbul and being there as a great resource for the application of students, for visas. And I think this is why this collaboration is such a great collaboration for our alumni and for any of our students right now who are already looking beyond their years at BİLGİ. Also, I need to note that UK, United Kingdom, has been asked to our colleagues over and over again. In a very recent survey, our international students have selected the UK as one of the destinations of study abroad after their time at BİLGİ or during their time at BİLGİ as exchange students. And also, every year, UK is among the top 5 destinations for our Erasmus students. So UK is already a study destination for BİLGİ students, and a lot of BİLGİ alumni have done their graduate degrees or they are already working in UK in various positions. So I really believe in the importance of this collaboration, relevance of this collaboration for our students and alumni. This is a difficult moment in time due to the COVID situation. Obviously, it's really difficult to even talk about mobility or international collaborations, but we are doing it anyways because this virus is not going to be hopefully with us for a very, very long time, or it won't be at this harmful extent, at least. I'm hoping, we are all hoping. So we are just doing our business as usual, and we are hoping that there will be more comfortable days when we talk more comfortably about mobility, exchange, study abroad, international opportunities. I'm sure we have alumni and students who are thinking likewise. So I want to give you both a last maybe chance to say a couple words, and then we will conclude today's webinar, which will be posted on YouTube, and we will continue sharing this information with students and alumni who raise questions to us about UK and about UWE Bristol. So your time today has been very valuable for us. Thank you so much. So any last words?
Well, thank you very much, Hande. I think about all subjects have been covered by Sophie and yourself. There's perhaps only one slight thing I could add. I speak Turkish, so students, if they contact us through our website, they can they can write in Turkish, and we can also communicate in Turkish. So that shouldn't be a barrier for them to contact us. Thank you very much, both of you.
Yeah, thank you.
to the attendees.
Yeah, thank you for joining, or if you're listening afterwards, thank you ever so much for tuning in. I hope it was useful, and I hope that one day I may be able to meet you in Bristol or Istanbul, because I'm always happy to come back to Istanbul, but if not, I hope that some of you I may be able to get to see in Bristol. So thank you.
Thank you again, and I think it's time we can end this recording, and see you next time. Bye-bye.